This is WPSL Port St. Lucie, the talk of the Treasure Coast.
The views expressed on the following program are not necessarily those of WPSL. However, you're encouraged to like and share them on Facebook and YouTube, and your friends. Be sure to subscribe and like Joanne's World of Nutrition, brought to you by Nutrition World and hosted by the one and only Joanne Seeger.
Hey everyone, happy Thursday. I hope everyone's having an incredible morning. I am super excited about this morning. I got a little nervous. It was a little serious car accident on 95, but did some breathing, said a prayer, and kept moving, and luckily got here on time. So for all my listeners, welcome back to the show. Any newbies, so glad you're spending some time with me this morning, and it's going to be a good one. One of my great guest who keeps coming back with more and more cutting-edge info. We have on the line with us Bert. Good morning, Bert.
Hey, good morning.
How are you? So we're going to get into who you are for any of our newbies, but you know what comes first on my show, right, Bert? And I want to include you in it. Do you remember?
Oh, good. Yes, the deep breathing.
That's right. All right, so newbies, this is super simple. Everyone can do it, and it's absolutely free.
Only request that you don't close your eyes if you're driving down the car.
Please keep eyes open. All right, so we're going to exhale out any drama, negativity, fear, anxiousness, any stressors, and we're going to breathe in through our nose for 5. We're going to hold our breath for 5. And we're going to exhale out through our nose for 5. So good old nasal breathing. Let's bring down that blood pressure, help us focus, help relax our parasympathetic system. All right, let's just do 2 rounds today because I want to get into this conversation with Bert. All right, ready. Bert, are you ready?
Yes.
All right, exhale, everybody.
Everybody exhale. Okay, let's begin through the nose. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold. 2, 3, 4, 5. Release. 2, 3, 4, 5. Again in 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold. 2, 3, 4, 5. And release. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Awesome. And how do you feel, Bert? A little better?
Yes. I should do this after I get to the office, like I am right now. I normally do it before I leave for work, but
yeah.
Right.
I always try to do it again.
Yeah, I mean, isn't this crazy? We could do this all day long, guys. Yeah. I mean, look at that. No excuses about time or money. It's always available to us. All right, so Bert, it was super cool because we were doing our breath work this morning, and, Wim Hof, I think I might have mentioned him last time you were on. We've been following him. Did we talk about this already, Bert?
I don't think so.
All right, so Wim Hof is called the Superhuman on YouTube, and also has won 28 Guinness Book of World Records for his breath work and how it controls the autonomic nervous system, which they thought was impossible. And one of the things the clinical study showed through his deep, intensive practicing, so it's not something you do instantly, you bring about more alkalinity. So every time I do the breath work, I'm like, Bert would be so proud of me how I'm making my body more alkaline. So it's super cool, too, because I feel like, we kind of underestimate the power of breath, and we just kind of take it for granted sometimes, And so when we do it intentionally, we definitely feel better. So it's a good thing. All right, so I'm going to tell some of our newbies who you are, Bert. All right, so Bert is, I consider him a friend now. He's been on so many times that he's definitely in friend status. He is a clinical nutritionist, good old family guy, really has a lot of sincerity and morality when it comes to what he's going to teach us on each and every show. He is the CEO of Positive Power Nutrition, and which brings us really cutting edge products. They're not new, but I still call them cutting edge because sometimes people overlook the most obvious to bring us health. And what I love too is a lot of his formulas are liquids, and now it seems like a lot of consumers are getting back to they're sick of pills and tablets and wanting to go to liquid. So this is definitely a show you want to have pen and paper, take notes, because his information is not only backed by lots of legit info, but it's easy to understand and a lot of common sense in it as well.
And best of all, some of these products are available at Nutrition World.
Yes. Okay. Well, thank you for that. Okay. All right. So, Bert, did I leave out anything that I think my listeners need to know about how amazing you are?
No, that's so kind. Oh my goodness, that's very very kind words. And I was just telling my wife earlier this morning. I said I'm going to the radio show early because of course it's 7 a.m. out here in California, and I said I just love being on the show with Joanne. And she was saying, well, explain to me why you like it. And I said, she's just so upbeat, and she starts her show with deep breathing, and she and her husband are they say we're going to try it, and then they actually do it, and they do try the things and that we talk about. So I just said I just love every time that I'm on the show. So
well, thank you, Bert. And yeah, no, it's so funny because I spray, the super silica spray and the anti-wrinkle spray every morning now, and I pretty much will say that the only thing I'm still a little lacking on is when I use the Cell Power every morning. Then I'm like, well, I don't want to put the silica with it because I don't want the lymphatic purge. So, I'm constantly thinking about your products and how I'm using them. So, yes, I definitely more than most other brands, let me tell you. So, yeah, and right now, silica especially is getting a lot of attention. But let's back up. We might have some newbies that feel like we're talking Latin right now. So let's still talk about alkalinity, because I still have your wonderful booklets offered at the store that I feel are super educational. So can you tell my listeners why this whole alkaline conversation came into your practice and why you feel like this is at the root, the foundational health for most of the patients you work with?
Yes, I would say out of the 5,000 doctors, patients that have been referred to me as a clinical nutritionist, I'm trying to help them on just an input level. So we're talking about not just what you eat, but beverages, soap, shampoos, sleep, breathing, sunshine, all of those things, and over a period of time, looking for what is there one thing that a person can do that can affect all of those areas. And it turns out that proper pH balance in the clear fluids of the body, which make up over half of our body weight. I don't think we realize that, but we're 56% clear fluids. And that's not even counting blood. We're about 14% blood. Depending on how full our bladder is, we might be 0.5% urine. So that's why we don't test our pH using urine, because that's not even a footnote. But with saliva, it's a good way to test the clear fluids that make over half of our mass or our body weight. And so we found out that proper pH balance affects 90% of the things that can go wrong. So over 90% of the illnesses or the imbalances in the body all come back to pH balance, which ties in very close to hydration balance. So you can't be pH balanced truly in your body if you're not drinking enough water. If you don't have the proper hydration, which means you're putting hydrogen and oxygen into your body in a safe way with just clean, purified water. But if you're not doing that, you're overlooking 90% of what can go wrong. It's pH balancing and hydration balancing. And then there's the other 10%, which is mineral balancing, hormonal balancing, and energy balancing. But all of those three only make up 10%. 90% is whether your body is in correct pH balance or not.
Wow, that definitely seems important. And so, you mentioned, again, a few things that some people might be confused about. So you started with the 56%, right, Bert? Was that the first number? Mm-hmm. Okay, so what's the difference when someone tells someone, oh, your body is 72% water? What's the difference between, like, cytoplasma and that? Like, maybe clarify it a little more for people.
Well, the clear fluids would be those fluids that are in a fluid state. So the 56% includes synovial fluid in all the joints, lymphatic fluid, which is 5 times as much as your blood. So no matter how many pints of blood a person has, 5 times as many pints is in clear fluid. That's lymphatic fluid. Okay, that includes the spinal fluid, the cerebral fluid that supports the brain. It's what fills up the inside of our eyeballs is clear fluid. You've got what's inside of every single cell in the human body, all of the intracellular fluid. And then if we're having edema, then that means we have too much of the water or clear fluid in our body is trapped on the outside of the cells. So it's not that we have too much water in our body, it's that there's not a balance between what water is inside of our cell membranes and what's outside of the cell membranes. So for people that say, I'm going to fix edema by drinking less water, that can't fix it. It's going down the wrong path.
Well, and unfortunately, that's where they're guided to most of the time by the medical establishment, at least with the people that come in to see me. That's what they're told. Don't drink water.
Mm-hmm.
You have edema.
Yeah.
So
or don't drink water because your kidneys are not healthy, and so we don't want to put any strain on them.
Yes.
And it's like, yeah, I agree. You don't want to put strain on them, and I don't go around contradicting their doctor's advice. But what I do tell them, I say, look, your kidneys are a water-based organ. So if you don't have enough water, your kidneys are like a fish out of water. It's going to die because you can't just take a fish out of your fish tank and just set it there on the counter. It's not going to make it.
Yep. See, I might be getting petty right now, but you know how I think. So I love how they tell the client that the patient that they can't drink water, but then they don't question them about their diet soda, their McDonald's runs, their, Crystal Light. I'm like, no, guys, it's, and so I play it safe, and I always tell them, well, why don't you have some cucumbers and bok choy today, I figure, I'll just trick the whole system there, right? But Bert, on that note, the other thing that comes into question all the time when people are seeing their orthopedic specialists, their osteopaths, so I'm getting the words all tangled. They're orthopedics. They say that, you have no more synovial fluid, and that's why, you're bone on bone. Can you give your opinion on that situation? Because I feel like that conversation is coming up a lot lately at the store.
Well, synovial fluid is important, and when you don't have sufficient, it's a sign of severe dehydration. It's like somebody who says, I seem to have this problem with my tear ducts, and I don't have any tears. And rather than the very first thing coming to their mind, I need to drink more water, I don't have enough water to make tears, they're going some other direction. But with the bone on bone, you've got not just a lack of synovial fluid, but it's so much of the connective tissue that makes up all of the special connective tissue in like the knee joint and in the hip joints. And so when you are able to get enough silica, which is an essential trace mineral, into your body, then the body can rebuild that connective tissue. I've seen people that have reestablished a mineral balance with enough silica in their body and have gone from a waiting list for hip surgery or hip replacement surgery, and within 5 months they're taken off that list because the doctor says, well, I can't explain it, but you've got all of your connective tissue is growing back. And when it grows back, it means it's brand new. It's healthy. It's like a baby's connective tissue. A person ends up replacing their own natural connective tissue, and they've got better flexibility.
Yes, and I think that conversation is getting a little more open to the idea that our bodies can heal themselves if given the right tools, where before 10 years ago I feel like it was like, nope, if you need, if your bones aren't doing good or your cartilage or your synovial fluid, you got to put the mechanics in you. And so I'm glad that people are opening up to the idea of restoring their health with things like your products, the cell power, the silica, super critical for so many things. So we definitely could spend an hour on silica, but before we do that, you mentioned not to test with urine. So I literally spent an hour on the phone with the client. She bought both the cell power and the silica. I mailed it to her. She was out of state in Georgia. And so she called me the next morning after receiving her package and said, oh my gosh, my urine, test. I said, wait, no, we talked for about 20 minutes how not to test the urine. But in her mind, she thought that was the more accurate way. So can you, I know that I'm making you repeat yourself, but can you really let the audience know why it's so important to test the saliva and using the spoon method? Because I think we really need to get this really message through.
Yeah, after speaking about this for 20 years, you'd think I'd be tired of it, but I'm not.
Good,
I'm happy.
thank God.
I'm
okay.
happy to talk about it because what happens is that there's over 240 books written on pH balancing for humans. Out of those 240, well over half recommend testing urine. Not that they have anything to back it up or any empirical evidence of trying it both ways to see what it is, but instead, when what they do doesn't work, they just change the science. So testing urine, again, is not representative of the body. You can't say, oh, I'm going to test what makes up 0.5% of my body if I have a full bladder and say, oh, that's my body. It's definitely not. The urine is what your body is getting rid of. So if you're very acidic in your urine, that's not a bad thing. That means that your kidneys are working properly. You're getting rid of the excess acids. When you test the saliva, you have to say, okay, if I didn't put saliva in a plastic spoon first thing in the morning when I wake up, you only need to test once a week. So I keep telling people, and although I'll say this over and over again, at the end of my conversation, I'll say, now, how many times do we test a week? And then a lot of times they're like, oh, because, you're talking to your mind wanders, but it's just once a week. And they're like, well, why is that? And I'm like, okay, we really did miss 15 minutes of our conversation then, because the reason you only test once a week is that there's a certain anxiety when you get your test results. I mean, we may get a blood test once or twice a year, and we may be anxious after we have the blood drawn and while we're waiting for the results, or when we get the results, or when we review the results, may be anxious. But think if you're doing that every single day of the year. Yeah. So that anxiety creates a bad stress, which then increases the acidity. So you only test once a week. So my wife and I do it on Sunday mornings because it's easy for us. It's a different day of the week. It's a day that we don't work. And so we're like, okay, morning's a little bit more relaxing. We get up, we'll go ahead, and before we brush our teeth, before we eat or drink anything, we'll salivate, then we'll drool that saliva into a little plastic picnic spoon. It's better than using a metal spoon because the saliva can have its pH changed by most metal spoons. So if you don't have a glass spoon, a doctor doing a saliva sample would put it in a test tube, which is glass. But you put in this little plastic picnic spoon, fill up the spoon about halfway. You use a clinical grade or laboratory grade test strip, so not a roll of litmus paper, but you use a test strip, and you go ahead and put that face down with the two color blocks into the saliva, move it back and forth for about 15 seconds, take it out, read it. And you have to record it right away because in 5 or 10 minutes, whatever color that the test strip changes is going to go back to the neutral color it started with as it dries out. But you want to do that. Now, if you're testing the urine, I tell people only do that if your kidney specialist or your chiropractor asks you to test the urine and write it down, then do that for them. But it's not going to tell you very much about your body. It can tell you a little bit about your bone health and about your kidney health. But it's not what people think. You do not want to get your urine into the alkaline range. And for those that I think are and for those that I think are listening to, but they're not, I have a person call up, they go, I'm finally pH balanced. So I always say, congratulations, that's wonderful. I mean, if you're truly pH balanced, as measured on a fasting saliva test once a week, that puts you in the top 4% of healthy people. There's only 4% of the people in the United States that are pH balanced. Everyone could be, if they put forth a little bit of effort. And
we'll start meditation circles throughout the world.
Everyone could be pH balanced, but they're not. So if you're pH balanced, that's great. So a person said, I'm finally pH balanced. And I said, oh, okay, great. Well, tell me what your number is. And they said, oh, yeah, it's 7.2. I go, that's wonderful. And they go, yeah, and that was this morning when I said this morning. I said, how many times a week do you do it? Oh, I do it like every day, sometimes twice a day. And I said, okay, so your saliva is 7.2? They go, oh, no, that's my urine. And I said, oh, no. I said, whatever you're doing, stop. Because if you have managed to get your urine into the alkaline range where it's over 7, that means you're doing something to mess up your body big time. The healthy urine test would be between 6.0 and 6.9 at all times. That doesn't mean your pH balanced. All that means is that the kidneys are functioning okay.
Yeah, and I think a lot of listeners now are very concerned because they know the kidneys are affected by a lot of our choices, using our pain relievers and some other pharmaceuticals. So this is great. I know you're not saying to use it to test kidney health, but I do believe that. Go ahead.
What I do, and you're right, I'm glad you said that, but here's how I explained it. I said, if your doctor says, well, it looks like you're heading towards kidney failure, and a person goes, oh, no, well, within a couple of years. Okay, I always love when they tell you, 2 years from now. But
don't stress. Don't stress.
Yeah. Yeah, so they said, oh, yeah, and you may have to go on dialysis if you head this direction. Well, maybe that's just to get the person to do more healthy things. I don't know. But when they tell them that, I say, well, the first thing is if you're told that you're heading towards kidney failure, get a second opinion. Every insurance program must pay for a second blind opinion. Now, when a second opinion doesn't mean you go to a different doctor and say, well, my first doctor said this, what do you say? Because then they're bound by their fraternity to actually agree with the first doctor without even testing you, without even looking at you. They're just saying, okay, I agree with your first doctor. So I said a second blind opinion. I said, or you can do a simple urine pH test, and if you're between 6.0 to 6.9, then at least there's no emergency. Still get your second opinion. But again, it gives you an idea because kidneys that are failing go above 7. So for somebody that's congratulating themselves their pH balanced and they have urine that's above 7.0, that's not something to be happy about. That's when I say go see your doctor, go see your kidney specialist.
And Bert, I never knew that about the blind second appointment, and what a great term because, just walk in there, don't tell them what the first one said. Wow, I never knew that. And that is something I don't think many people take advantage of, and I wish more people did because, we're all human no matter what field we're in, and we learn and we make mistakes, and we need to be our own advocates. So, if the two opinions don't agree, if you've got one doctor saying yes, the other one saying no, then you're entitled, again, under insurance paying for it, to get a third opinion. I guess you go best 2 out of 3. But when it's really serious, especially with a diagnosis of cancer or of anything where they're saying, oh, this is really serious or terminal or unfixable, whatever, get that second opinion and make sure. And if they both agree, then decide on that plan of treatment. But and if you can, make sure you have a good family member or a friend that can be a patient advocate. That's also allowed. They're not going to tell you that, but you can have somebody that's there making sure that they, if you're the one that's been diagnosed with cancer, the chance of you thinking clearly when you're in the doctor's office or of you even hearing what the doctor says, that chance is really, really low. You're not thinking clearly. You're not listening because you're worrying about, end of life plans, that type of thing. Yeah, so make sure you have somebody with you that can think clearly and listen and write it down. Definitely. And I think now, too, with all these smartphones, you can even record it. I have people that come to me from their doctor's appointments, and I'll ask them questions. They're like, I know, either they didn't tell me or I don't remember. They didn't tell me or I don't remember, like some basic questions. And I think it's the same thing. They literally just black out after hearing the news, and they don't register any information. And I want to mention to the listeners, so Bert was talking about the pH strips, the dependable ones. So I do sell them at my store from Positive Power Nutrition, and in his booklet there is a chart where you can put down what your ranges are once a week, just so you can have that record keeping. So it not only has tons of amazing information that he took tons of info, condensed it to an easy to understand format, but he also gives that chart in there. And those test strips are super affordable and ready for purchase at the store.
Is the literature also available at the store?
Yes, the literature is also available, as well as, all of the products that we're about to talk about. So, Bert, we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to dive into cell power because, we can't have a radio show without talking about cell power. So we'll be right back. Hi, this is Joanne from Nutrition World, hoping that you visit my store and wellness center. We have incorporated cutting-edge services to help you feel better. Check out my online store at joannesnutritionworld.com. Really great deals and free shipping over $50. I am really hoping that all my listeners are taking time right now to get fresh air, to get exercise into their daily routine, keep hydrated, and get the proper amount of sleep. It's critical right now that attitude is everything. To please take time to laugh, to give yourself a break. You can find Nutrition World right on US 1 in Fort Pierce, across from Fort Pierce City Hall, in between Orange Avenue and Avenue A. Our phone number is 772-464-3598. Call me with any questions or concerns. All my best, Joanne.
Joanne's Nutrition World, now open from 10 to 4, Monday through Saturday. Call 464-3598.
Hey, it's Dr. Ravi at Tradition Family Chiropractic. We are dedicated to serving you and your family with integrity, compassion, and innovative care through the most advanced chiropractic care ever in chiropractic history, encouraging your health and your family's health to its maximum potential on a regular basis. Call us today at 772-345-0060 or schedule online at traditionhealth.com for your free consultation.
Welcome back to Joanne's World of Nutrition with Joanne Seeger.
Hey everyone. Thank you for listening and spending some time with me this morning. I have my friend and guest on, Bert Goulding Jr. from Positive Power Nutrition. He is a clinical nutritionist and he has a wealth of information. So if you just tuned in, you definitely want to get your pen and paper out and start taking some notes. Some great info on the way. All right, Bert, so let's talk about cell power because this hour is going by fast. All right, so cell power, I think that was your flagship product, correct?
Well, yes, it certainly was the best seller for many, many years. Cell power was discovered in 1949, so that was before I was born, but we're like the custodians to make sure that this amazing product, I mean, it truly is like nothing else on the planet. It has the highest potential electricity of any food or supplement on Earth, where the highest of any food that holds the world record for energy in food is fresh-picked raspberries that came in at 26,500 on the potential energy scale. It's a subtle energy scale. And distilled water comes in at 7,000. The highest of any food are these raspberries that beat out strawberries, so 26,500. And the cell power drops that come in the little concentrate, the 1 or 2 ounce bottle, now come in at 13 million.
Holy moly. That's incredible, Bert. That's absolutely incredible. Now, some of my listeners are going to be like, what is he talking about? Energy of food? Can you explain that a little?
It's what we drink water and we eat food and we get sunshine. We do all these things because it's going to increase our electrical energy. So the ability of the body to fix itself and to heal is directly related to how much energy we have. The ability of our immune system to take care of threats that we may encounter, things that enter our body, and our immune system says, oh, you're not part of the body, and it goes and attacks that. That's all based on how much energy or electricity we have. So we want to avoid anything that is energy depleting in our lives, and we want as much energy as we possibly can. So on the Bovis scale, which is named after a French physicist, Jacques Bovis, from a couple hundred years ago, he was able to come through and determine that everything on the planet has an energy potential, how it can be converted into life, the life energy that runs living things. So with that, cell power was at 6 to 6.5 million for over 70 years. But we had this idea as we started selling the product in other countries in the world that if we went ahead and allowed it, it gets stronger over time. Okay, so when we first mix up the cell power, it comes in at less than 1 million. But it takes 7 months to make one batch, and it would always get up to 6.5 million, which was already the highest in the world of any supplement or food. But by holding it 1 extra year before we put it into bottles, it doubled. So in other countries, we were selling a version called double strength. Well, it turns out what's being sold in the United States is at that level, 13 million. It's truly amazing. The super silica drops, which are in a bottle that looks very similar to cell power, but it does a completely different thing, that comes in at 6 to 6.5 million now, which is double what it used to. So you've got this energy, and you want to get it into your body so that everything else can function. Okay. I think we've had this conversation before, but out of all of the activities that our body does, the most depleting is digestion. To break down, and if you think about it, to break down foods, hopefully we're chewing our foods well before we swallow, but we don't always do that. And even if we chew it well, and then it goes into the stomach, and then the stomach acid, and after that the enzymes from the pancreas, all those things are trying to break down the food into microscopic particles that then pass through the intestinal lining into the bloodstream, and that's how our body gets nourished. Well, it turns out that digestion takes the most electricity of anything that we can do. So the nice thing about cell power and super silica as liquids, first of all, it's easy to put the drops in your drinking water and to drink it, but it also doesn't require any digestion. It's already been pre-dissolved down to a post-digestion size of the particles. So that means when you put 4 drops of cell power liquid into 16 ounces or more of purified or distilled water, that's all it takes to bring that entire glass of water, a pint of water, up. Within 10 seconds, it goes from about 7,000 on energy all the way up to 13 million. The whole glass of water will get the energy of those 4 drops of cell power. Then as you drink it, that is being absorbed in the mucous membranes of the mouth and the esophagus, so it doesn't even have to go through the stomach. It's already into your lymph system and your blood system. In less than 10 minutes, it's reached every part of the body.
Wow. Okay, that is super exciting. Now, some of my listeners might be equating the word energy to they are, lining up at Starbucks at 3 o'clock to get their huge triple espressos or their Red Bulls or all their, I don't even know all the names of all the energy drinks. So can you help clarify? Now, I always try to, suggest that they rethink their choices because those energy type drinks, as I know, cause damage in the human body. But can you kind of explain the difference between what that does and what cell power does?
Yes. The temporary feeling of energy you get with coffee or the Bull type or Monster type drinks or whatever, that temporary feeling of energy is really just an adrenaline shock. It's basically you're putting something so bad into your body that your body recognizes that this can kill you over time. And so you get this feeling kind of like you're being chased by a really big angry dog down the street, and you're running and able to stay ahead of the dog, and then afterwards you go, wow, I just feel so exhilarated for the day. Now I'm ready to go to work. Well, that's not adding to your energy. The crash that you feel after those kinds of caffeine drinks is the exhaustion. What you've done is you've lowered your body's energy. So when you get good sunshine, or you get to bed early and you get extra sleep, or you're drinking 3 to 4 quarts of good clean water per day, all of those things actually raise your electricity level. And our body runs on electricity. That's why someone who's down on the ground and not breathing, and maybe their heart stopped, they try to grab a defibrillator, which is on the walls in airports and malls and everywhere. They get out a defibrillator, they read the instructions, and they will hit your body, clear, everybody don't touch the person. They'll hit them with electricity because it takes electricity to get the breathing and the heart going again. So what we're talking about is cell power is energized by sunlight. So it starts out with fruits and vegetables and vegetable protein that's been dissolved down to the very, very smallest molecular level, when you dissolve things down, it releases a tremendous amount of energy. And if you get down to even molecular fission, where the molecules are split, you get a lot of energy from that. Okay, then it's energized with sunlight from anywhere from 2 or 3 hours up to 3 months of sunlight until the liquid can hold as much energy as possibly can. And that's what you're doing. The little cell power bottle is a concentrate of energy that can be transmitted to living cells. People use it with their pets. They use it with their cut flowers, with their plants. Anything that's alive will be able to absorb this living energy.
Okay, now plants. I got a quick question. How do we know how to dose plants? I forgot to ask you this last show.
Well, a lot of people will do it, because it's just a few drops of cell power, and it doesn't really cost that much. But if you're really talking about doing organic gardening, then we have another product called Positive Soil Power, and it's an agricultural grade, and it's really very, very inexpensive because it is for plants and ponds and any standing water or soil or lawns, but it's very inexpensive because it's not for pets and it's not for humans. So if you're going to just use your little bottle of cell-powered drops, which are for humans, and you want to use that for cut flowers, you would just put 3 or 4 drops in the vase with water, and we'll find that roses that typically are wilting and dying within 3 or 4 days, the longest we've seen that they've stayed alive and vibrant after they've been cut with cell power in the vase is 14 days.
Wow,
so you're talking about
incredible.
taking something from 3 days to 14 days, and with that extra energy, if you have rosebuds and you just put it in regular water, not only does it start to wilt and die within 3 or 4 days, but when you add the cell power, the rose will finish blooming completely. The amount of rose scent, you must really like the smell of roses if you're going to do this, because it'll fill up the whole room, and it'll be live and vibrant for up to 2 weeks.
Okay, I might give that one a try, because at our wellness center, I love putting fresh flowers, but I don't like, how quickly they die. So maybe I'll try that trick.
For a long time, we were going to start selling these amazing drops to florists, but it turns out that the florists would really like your flowers.
Oh, yes. I was going to say, they're not going to lose business.
No, they do not. They do not like the idea that it's going to stay for a long time. But it's just another way of being able to say, most people that do the flowers, they go, wow, if it's doing it for flowers, I wonder what that would do for my body.
Exactly.
Well, good, because it was made for the human body, so...
Yep, and that's the whole thing. Sometimes we have to study nature and the obvious to really try to figure out what works for us. So I love that you think that way as well. All right, so cell power, definitely, I can't imagine any listener not thinking that it would apply to their life. So hopefully everyone comes in and gives cell power a try. Super economical. Like Bert mentioned, 4 drops, and you could do it repeatedly throughout the day, or just try 1 dose a day. Just start, get in, start, and you'll see it's just a tiny lemon lime flavoring that is naturally occurring, right, Bert? That just naturally comes up with the process.
Well, yes, because there's no citrus in it, but it has a slight citrusy flavor because that's the way electricity tastes. So you're actually picking up this mild electricity that you've just put the drops into there. What it'll do is, the reason that the entire glass of water goes from 6,000 or 7,000 all the way up to 13 million in less than 10 seconds is that as soon as you put the drops of cell power in there, it helps all of the water molecules separate into hydrogen and oxygen, and then they recombine immediately. And you get energy when they split, and you get energy when it recombines. So if you look at the glass, most people go, I see like these really, really tiny little bubbles, almost too small to see with the naked eye. But you can see all these little bubbles happening because it's actually splitting and recombining all of the H2O in that glass. So it's able to purify to some extent. But if you start with pure water, then you save all the energy because you haven't used up the energy to try to clean the glass of water. That's why we say distilled or reverse osmosis purified, is let's conserve that energy so it gets into your body when you drink it.
All right, that sounds awesome. Now, I just thought of something else. So At the beginning of the COVID conversation, a lot of my customers started getting on the food-grade hydrogen peroxide bandwagon. And the words you're using, I think some of them might just say to themselves, oh, but I'm doing that. Could you touch on the differences? And, I don't even sell food-grade hydrogen peroxide, just to, so you can understand my philosophy right away. But, yeah, can you just kind of touch on that so that any confusion is, squashed?
Yes, it turns out that hydrogen peroxide, what it means is one hydrogen per oxygen. That's the per oxide. So hydrogen peroxide is H2O2. So when that breaks down in the body, it turns into water plus one extra oxygen with a positive charge, which makes it a free radical. So it will increase your level of free radicals. Now, most people have been told, for the last 20, 30, 40 years that free radicals are the villain. That's what causes cancer, all these things, like antioxidants, get rid of your free radicals. And yet with food-grade hydrogen peroxides, you're increasing that. And it's not that it doesn't help anyone. We're finding that about 1 out of 20, so about 5% of the population has their free radical level in the body is too low. And everything is about balance. So the food-grade hydrogen peroxide makes them feel much better because they now have the free radicals that will also help the immune system fight invaders. But 19 out of 20 people already have plenty of free radicals. The hydrogen peroxide doesn't help them, but the cell power will. Cell power helps increase the electricity, which boosts the immune system, without adding any extra stray oxygen, O1 plus oxygen. It's a singlet oxygen atom that has a positive charge, the free radical. It doesn't add any free radicals, and it allows the body to balance out the level of free hydrogen, which is what powers your immune system, and free oxygen, which, if it comes from water and it's split, which is what cell power does, that free oxygen combines into stabilized O2, which is breathable. So you can measure extra oxygen in your body just by putting cell power drops in your water and drinking it, and then measuring the difference by like a fingertip pulse oximeter, a little thing you put on the end of your finger to read how much oxygen is in your blood at the extremities. You can measure that. We do this all the time. A person will measure it. Maybe they're down to 90 or 91, which is so low that the doctor would prescribe one of those little green oxygen tanks on wheels to pull along. You'd have to put tubes in your nose to get oxygen. But if you're down at 90 or 91, if you put 4 drops of cell power in a glass with all that electricity, you drink it, within 10 minutes it's already in your blood system, it's already in your lymph system, and when you go to remeasure it, we're finding that almost everyone is up at 97 or 98. And in 10 minutes, it's just unbelievable.
Yeah, that's incredible.
You talk to a physical therapist or a respiratory therapist or a doctor, and you say that can happen in 10 minutes, they go, no, there's no way. Because even if you do have an oxygen tank and you do put the tubes up to your nose, you're still not going to see that you come up to 97 or 98 within 10 minutes. Yep. This is because your entire body now has available O2 that didn't come through your lungs, it didn't come through the skin, it just came from the water that you're drinking. So I've got to tell you, Joanne, and you may be running into this too, is that most people want to take cell power in less water. They're like, well,
I have to beg them to drink water. Beg them.
Yeah. So, the directions are that you put 4 drops in 16 ounces. And I'll have somebody call up and say, I've been taking cell power and I've been getting a little bit of benefits. I'm talking to them on the phone. And then, as we talk and I ask them more questions, they're putting 8 drops in 8 ounces. Meaning I'll double the amount and cut the water in half, and somehow that's going to do me better. It doesn't. It doesn't, because there's not the hydrogen and oxygen that can be released from the electricity from the cell power. And if anything, if it wants to be used, it means it then has to try to use the existing hydration level in the body. So, and if a person is not getting the benefits, they're just really, really dehydrated. Some people are so dehydrated that I tell them you're going to have to drink 3 or 4 quarts of good pure water for like 3 days before you start taking cell power.
Do they come back to the practice after you say that? Because I know with me that it's hard to get them to drink that kind of water to equalize their body.
Well, it's just because if you don't start drinking early in the morning, if you don't drink any water till 12 noon, then I just say forget it. You're never going to get 3 quarts minimum, 4 quarts optimal into your body. Instead, if you can drink a quart of water, so 32 ounces, in the first hour after you wake up. So, you wake up at 6 a.m., between 6 and 7, you drink 1 quart. What that does is that primes the body so it's going, okay, this is going to be a good rainy day. There's going to be water. It's not going to be one of those really dry days. And so the whole body leaves the cells open so it can absorb all the water that you do that day. But if you don't drink anything till noon, the body's like, we're in a drought, right?
Yeah.
And the body is really smart. Being in a drought condition, it's going to go ahead and close all of the cell membranes in your body to save that the intracellular water, what's inside of your cells, because if not, you lose it to evaporation off your skin. So it's going to close up everything trying to conserve water. But if you start drinking first thing in the morning, it leaves it open, and you can easily get in at 3 or 4 quarts.
Yep, and it kind of circles us back to the beginning of the conversation with, swelling and edema, and especially in, concentrated in one body part, that's what's happening here. And I think too, Bert, that I think that our future goal should be that where we start like a mobile missionary where we just go around the country trying to get people to consume, cell power and water. Like just start there, right? But I really believe sometimes these people are going home with it and not only maybe thinking what you said, more drops, less water, or possibly, well, it's a liquid. I know it's coffee, or I know it's soda, or I know it's, lemonade, and just like throwing the drops in there as well. So hopefully we can really clarify in this show and, with all my customers at least, that we do need to consume it with water. So
yes, because all of the other liquids and even the vegetables, like you're saying, the cucumber and the other things, you'll say, well, if you're not going to drink water, at least eat more cucumber. All of the fruits and vegetables that are high in water, even watermelon, yes, there's a water content, but to extract pure water, H2O, from the watermelon or the cucumber, wherever else, it takes electricity. So if you're already running low on electrical energy in your body's going to have to make that quick decision. It does it in a split second. Okay, do I use up some of this precious electricity, which I'm almost out of, in order to extract water from the fruits, the vegetables, or the other beverages? And most of the time it's going to go, no, not a good use of electricity.
Oh, that does make sense. All right, well then, I'll go back to preaching the water. All right, so Bert, we have 5 minutes left. I can't believe it. So can you, I'm going to let you decide what you want to talk about for the last 5 minutes, because I've been asking all the questions. So whatever's on your mind, you have 5 minutes to roll with it.
Wow, okay. So since we've been talking about cell power, I just want to mention the 5 things that add extra electricity in the cell power, and that's why it's called power, right? You're powering up your cells. So there are 5 things that you're going to notice that your body does with the extra electricity. The first is oxygenation. You're going to have more oxygen, and this is verifiable with like swimmers. We have high school swimmers that are on swim teams, and of course this is in the past when people were actually attending high school without doing it remote on Zoom or something, but they would be on a high school swim team and they would start breaking all the records for their school and start breaking league records because as they would take cell power in their water, they had enough extra oxygen in their body that they could swim without having to pull their head up to capture air as often. So again, you're going to win the race if everybody's coming up with every stroke to breathe and you're only having to come up every 2 or 3 strokes to breathe. So oxygenation we've talked about. The second is that you're going to, that electricity will help the body feel safe and comfortable in opening up the cell membrane to let in the micronutrients, like all the vitamins and minerals, all of the fuel to get in. I mean, for a cell to be healthy, it has to be able to get fuel, nutrients, water, oxygen, and messenger hormones all have to enter in through the cell membrane. Most of the time, the cell membrane is blocking that because it doesn't have enough energy. And if there's not enough energy in the cell, then it's hard for it to utilize. Why would you put a plate of food in front of you if you're too tired to chew and too tired to eat? So the second thing that cell power does with that extra electricity to the body is it will help improve the absorption of nutrients from supplements and foods by 2 to 3 times. Now, this is literal. That means that if you're taking, say, 4,000 milligrams of vitamin C, which is what we recommend to people during this, terrible flu season that's going on nonstop, is lots of vitamin C. If you're taking 4,000 milligrams of vitamin C, if you're putting cell power in your water in the same days, you're going to be absorbing as much as if you were taking 8,000 or 12,000. That means it's just more value for your money. It's just this amazing thing. So you've got oxygenation. It helps to boost the immune system, as we said, because the electricity helps your body break down the H2O. The oxygen is for breathing, and the hydrogen is for powering the immune system. It's the ammunition that your immune system uses. So that's 3 of the things it does. 4 is that cell power is really good at helping the body pH balance, and that probably should have been number 1. But it is what people can do to get pH balanced in 4 to 10 weeks instead of 1 to 2 years. So if you have tested your saliva pH and you're out of range, like 96% of the population, doing the cell power 6 servings a day, so that's at 4 drops in 16 ounces of water, but you don't do it once a day, you do that 6 times a day, and within 4 to 10 weeks, your body can truly be pH balanced and stay there, even without taking the drops.
Oh, no, Bert, we ran out of time. People are going to be hanging for like the cliffhanger for the last one. Well, you're always welcome back. We will book another one. Bert, all my best to you, your wife, and all your wonderful kids, and I hope you have a great summer, and hopefully we'll get you back real soon, okay?
Thank you, Joy.
Thanks, Bert. Bye-bye. All right, everyone, check out the Wellness Center. Come by soon. Bye.
You've been listening to Joanne's World of Nutrition, brought to you by Nutrition World, downtown Fort Pierce, US 1 at Orange Avenue, directly across the street from Fort Pierce City Hall, in the former arcade building known as the Krass Plaza. This is WPSL Port St. Lucie, where Dr. Stuart Shipe's Holistic Health Hour is straight ahead on WPSL Port St. Lucie.